There are a lot of different ways of learning the muscle up, but in my experience, using resistance bands is the best way of building the explosive strength and the technique needed for the muscle up. If your goal is a strict muscle up, I recommend training it as strict as possible when using resistance bands. Try to do your banded muscle ups with the least amount of momentum and swing as possible. One of the biggest mistakes I see is using too much momentum when training with resistance bands. Don't treat the muscle up as a 1 rep max exercise. When learning the muscle up, you always want to choose a resistance band that allows you to do 3 to 5 reps. This will build your strength and technique much faster and you will be less likely to injure yourself. If you tried all of the different resistance bands and you still can't seem to do 3 to 5 muscle ups with strict technique, then it's time to take a step back and only work on your explosive pull-ups for some time. This might seem boring, but it will help you train smarter and progress faster with less risk of injury. I know the feeling of wanting fast results, but it's so much better to take it step by step and slowly build the strength that is needed and to let the body adapt to the load. I always tell my muscle up clients to remember that it is a marathon and not a sprint. We have to train hard but also smart. So what I told my client to try was what I call the 2-point pull-up, and it's designed to make your explosive pull-up higher, which is of course great for your muscle up, and it will make the transition much easier. The first pull is from the bottom as usual, but it isn't the first pull that takes me all the way to the top. The second pull is actually done somewhere right about here. This will give me a second boost to get over the bar. It might be a little bit hard to see in this video at first, but try to see the second pull, and you can watch this a few times until you understand the technique, and you will see that I'm first pulling from the bottom and then pulling almost from 90 degrees. And I would recommend practice this with the resistance band at first. And you can either do high pull-ups like this, or you can go directly and try muscle ups with resistance bands. So I would say that muscle ups do build some muscle, but I think it also depends on what type of muscle ups you're doing. So now we're speaking about strict muscle ups, right? So I would say there are 2 ways of doing strict muscle ups. Let's call them normal muscle ups and backswing muscle ups. Let me show you some examples of this. Normal muscle ups are harder because you're not relying on any backswing. You're simply pulling up from the moment you lock out your arms in the hanging position, and you're controlling the descent, the negative part of the muscle up, so you get more time under tension. You are just pulling up with sheer strength from your arms the moment you come down into the bottom position. So this version, I think, will build more muscle. In the backswing muscle up, you're relying on the backswing for more power. You are initiating the pull later on your way back from the swing. You are more or less just dropping down into the next repetition, so you're not controlling the descent much, the negative part of the muscle up, and get less time under tension and build less muscle. So let's look at the people that master these 2 different muscle up techniques. Here is Seth demonstrating the hardest muscle up. He's basically just pulling himself up with no swing at all in a very controlled manner, just relying on his arm strength. This requires a lot of strength. And here is Remy demonstrating the backswing muscle up. He's using the momentum to make the muscle up easier and get more reps. He has really perfected the backswing technique. And here you can see me demonstrating the so-called normal muscle up in slow motion. You can see that I'm pulling up as soon as I lock out my arms in the bottom position. I'm not relying on any swing, and I'm controlling the negative part of the muscle up. This version is harder and will build more muscle. And here I'm demonstrating the backswing muscle up. You can see that I'm allowing myself to swing back a little bit before I initiate pull. This makes the muscle up easier and more explosive. I'm also not controlling the negative part of the muscle up. I'm basically just dropping down into the start position. This saves me the strength to do more reps, but less time under tension. I would recommend watching these 2 different styles and trying them both out in your muscle up training. You can of course do them with resistance band for assistance. The muscle up consists of the explosive high pull-up, the transition, and the straight bar dip. By the way, don't forget to train your straight bar dips. They will help your muscle ups a lot. During my years of coaching people towards the muscle up, I see that we mostly get stuck in the transition. When I started my own muscle up journey, I had a really hard time understanding what I was doing wrong in the transition. I watched so many YouTube videos, but nothing really clicked until I figured out the simplicity of the transition. One of the best ways to practice the muscle up transition is by doing so-called half muscle ups. Pull as hard as you can and rest your stomach on the bar. If you cannot do it, it's probably because you are pulling too slow and don't have enough explosive power yet. The solution is to use a thicker resistance band or use two together. Doing the half muscle up is a good way for us to understand the transition. If you can do a half muscle up, you already actually transitioned without overthinking about it. All I thought about was resting the stomach on the bar, which basically means I threw my chest forward. This is the main part of the transition. When you get comfortable with the half muscle up, you can start to push into the dip as soon as you throw your chest over the bar. I would also recommend working on your negative muscle ups. Resist coming down as much as you can. This will give you more strength and control during the transition. To get stronger in both the explosive pull-up and the normal pull-up, I would recommend using resistance bands. They are a great tool to get the technique down, but also to work on your strength. The purpose of training explosive high pull-ups is of course to work on your explosiveness. But why do you want to work on your explosiveness? Well, mainly to achieve the muscle up as the end goal. The techniques between a high pull-up and a normal pull-up are also vastly different. When doing explosive pull-ups, you want to use a slightly narrower grip and pull with your elbows facing forward. This will help you to pull upwards and away from the bar. When doing normal pull-ups, you have a slightly wider grip and you pull your elbows to the side and back in a slower, controlled manner. This will give you a more straight up and down pulling pattern. For the explosive pull-up, you want to focus on pulling as fast and as high as possible to activate the fast twitch muscle fibers. Try to touch the bar under your chest or lower in every repetition. When doing normal pull-ups, you want to pull in a controlled manner until your chin is over the bar. Try to engage your back as much as possible. The natural step after you can do explosive pull-ups is the elusive muscle up. The progression after normal pull-ups would be weighted pull-ups or the one-arm pull-up. But keep in mind, only working on the normal pull-up will not get you the strength for the muscle up. Check out my full muscle up tutorial by clicking right here.